Hello, second grade. Today we are going to be discussing some events that are happening in the world around us. It is going to be a serious and very important topic, so I hope you are ready to learn and share with me. Today we are going to read a book called Something Happened in Our Town. Let's listen carefully and imagine how we would feel if we were in the student's class. First, let's discuss what we see happening on the cover. I see two kids on the cover of the book, and it looks like they're stepping on a newspaper. Think for a couple of seconds about what you think the book will be about based on the cover. We're going to read the story Something Happened in Our Town, and I'm going to play the video so that you can see the pictures, but I'm going to be reading it out loud. Ready? Something Happened in Our Town, a child's story about racial injustice, written by Marianne Solano, Marietta Collins, and Anne Hazard, illustrated by Jennifer Zivian. Something bad happened in our town. The news was on the TV, the radio, and the internet. The grown-ups didn't think the kids knew about it, but the kids in Miss Garcia's class heard some older kids talking about it, and they had questions. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out the best way to read this. After school, Emma asked her mother, "Why did the police shoot that man?" "It was a mistake," said her mother. "I feel sad for the man and his family." "Yes, the police thought he had a gun," said the father. "It wasn't a mistake," said her sister Liz. "The cops shot him because he was black." Emma was confused. "He is brown, not black," she said. "Some black people have dark brown skin, and some have light brown skin," Emma's father explained. "Black usually means African American. Most of their ancestors were brought here from Africa as slaves." "I know what a slave is," said Emma. "That's when you have to do whatever the other person says." Yes, slaves had to do whatever white people told them to. Even after slavery ended, white people didn't let black people live where they wanted, go to school with white people, or vote. Who are white people? White people came here from places in Europe or Russia or other countries. We are white, even though our skin is light tan. "Did our family do those bad things a long time ago?" asked Emma. "Yes," answered her mother. "Back then, many white people thought that they were better than black people, even though it wasn't true." Liz added, "Some white people still think most black men and boys are dangerous, even though they're not." "Was that man that got shot dangerous?" asked Emma. "No," her mother said. "Shooting him was a mistake. It was a mistake that is part of a pattern." "Like the pattern on my blanket?" Emma asked. "Yes, but this pattern is being nice to white people and mean to black people. It's an unfair pattern." "Suppose you had a birthday party and invited everyone in your class except the black kids," her mother said. "How would the black kids feel?" "They would be sad," Emma said. "Or mad." "And you would be missing out because you never know who is going to be your best friend," said Liz. "And you can help others to be fair," said her mother. "Like telling Anna to stop teasing Ling about her name?" asked Emma. Her mother gave her a hug. "Yes, just like that." In another house, Josh asked his mother, "Can police go to jail?" "Yes," said his mother. "Why do you ask?" "That white policeman who shot the black man," said Josh. "Will he go to jail?" "What he did was wrong," said his mother. But he won't go to jail, said his father. Why not? Asked Josh. Cops stick up for each other, said Josh's brother Malcolm, and they don't like black men. Josh was confused. Why not? Some police are black. You're right, said his mother. Uncle James is a police officer, and so is my friend Kenya. There are many cops, black and white, who make good choices, said his father, but we can't always count on them to do what's right. Malcolm added, I could get stopped by the police just because I'm black, even if I don't do anything wrong. That's not fair, Josh said. What if it was a white man in the car? Would the police have shot him? They probably wouldn't even have stopped the car, said his father. Sometimes white people are treated better than black people, said his mother. But it's not right. Everybody should be treated fairly. Josh's mother gave him a hug. We're proud of who we are. Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King Jr., and Nelson Mandela were strong and brave black leaders. They showed us that we can stand up for our rights and set good examples for others. They were treated unfairly, but helped others learn to be more fair. Some people haven't learned yet, said his father angrily. Why are you mad? Asked Josh. I'm mad that we're still treated poorly sometimes. But I can use my anger to make things better, said his father. Black people have a lot of power if we work together to make changes. I have power, Josh said, and I'm smart. His father smiled. You're right. His mother added, and you can change people's hearts by sticking up for someone who is not treated fairly. Like how Malcolm sticks up for me when the kids tease me about my glasses, Josh asked. He tells them to step off. Just like that, his parents said. The next day, a new kid joined Emma and Josh's class. His name was Omad, and he was from a country far away. Omad didn't know where to sit or what to do because it was his first day in school. He talked a little bit, but it was hard to understand him. He said he was learning English. After lunch, the class went outside to play soccer. Daniel and Sophia picked kids to be on their teams. All of the kids were picked to be on a team, except Omad. Daniel said, Omad probably doesn't know how to play because he's new. Sophia said, Omad might not be good at soccer. Josh remembered what his mother said about sticking up for people who are treated unfairly. Emma remembered what her mother said about unfair patterns and birthday parties. All of a sudden, Omad wasn't alone. Emma and Josh were leading him to their team. We have enough kids on our team, Daniel said. We don't need him. But Josh was ready. Step off, he said. He's playing. Yeah, said Emma. We don't want to miss out. And just like that, Emma and Josh gained a new friend and started a better pattern in their school. The end. All right, let's discuss some of the points that were made in the story. So, first, what do you remember about the word prejudice? What does the word prejudice mean? Let's think about when we learned the word prejudice when we were talking about Ruby Bridges and Martin Luther King Jr. back at school. The word prejudice means believing something negative about a person who is different from you without proof. Let's look at an example. If you believe someone is mean because they hit you, you would have proof and reason to believe they are mean. But if you believe someone is mean only because they are black, there is no proof or reason, and that is a prejudiced opinion. And prejudice is wrong. In the story, the new kid at the school, Omad, people had prejudiced opinions about him, that he couldn't play soccer, he couldn't be on their team because they didn't know if he would be any good at it, he couldn't speak English, and they made all these opinions without even talking to him. So there's no reason to believe any of that, and that's just prejudice, and that's wrong. Now let's look at some questions from the story. How are Emma and Josh's family similar? Let's think for a couple seconds about what you remember about these families. I remember that both families believe it was wrong for police to shoot a black man. Now let's look at how Emma and Josh's family are different. Let's take another couple seconds to remember about the story. And I remember from the story that Josh's family is more upset and hurt about what happened because they are African American and know how it feels to be treated unfairly. There are more reasons why their families are similar and different, but let's move on so we can discuss some other things. So now I want us to think about some serious questions and answer honestly to ourselves. You'll be able to hear my honest answers. And you can also think about the answers to these questions to yourself. So the first question is, have you ever been treated unfairly because of your skin color? And skin color, we also call that race. So think about that question. Have you ever been treated unfairly because of your skin color or race? And I'll go ahead and answer. I've never been treated unfairly because of my skin color. Although I am tan, I'm considered very light, and people have never discriminated against me because of it. So I'm really lucky. I look white and even sound white when I speak English. Now let's think about what would be a good way to handle that situation if you were treated unfairly. So maybe at home you're thinking, I have been treated unfairly. Maybe at school, maybe at a park or playing with your friends or something. And you're thinking, I have been treated unfairly. What would be a good way to handle that situation? And I can tell you about my own experience or what I would do. And I would be very scared if someone mistreated me. But I know some people have insecurities and hate for no reason. So I would probably be very nervous to do anything, but I would just have, I would hope that my friends would have my back. All right, let's think about another question. Have you ever seen someone else be treated unfairly because of their skin color or race? Now think about this question for a little bit. Have you ever seen someone else? That can be in person, like at school, at the park, or it could be something like on TV that you've seen. And now I'm going to share my answer. I've seen people on TV be treated unfairly, and I've seen a lot of people on social media post about times where they've been treated unfairly. How did you feel? How did you feel seeing that? I felt guilty seeing times when Black people were treated unfairly because I know that I will never experience that because, like I said, I'm white and I am very angry that I know it is wrong, but it has been happening for many hundreds of years. And now, what would be a good way to handle that situation if you ever saw someone else be treated unfairly because of their skin color? What could you do? Let's think about it. This is an important question for you to try to answer at home. What would you do, Or what is a good way to handle a situation where you've seen someone else be treated unfairly? And so I'm going to tell you my answer now. I would try to be courageous and talk to the person being treated unfairly. And I would make sure that they are safe and away from the mean people that are treating them unfairly. And after that's done and hopefully we can end that situation, I would try to talk to someone else. When I was little, I would try to talk to my parents, and now that I'm an adult, I try to talk to my friends about it because it's important to talk to people that you trust after you've seen something that makes you feel angry or sad or guilty. Okay. So, I want to remember some of our Black leaders that have made a big change in our nation's history. We learned about these people during our Module 3 text when we were in school, and I wanted to help us celebrate and remember these Black leaders because they are the ones that have really paved the way for people now to make a difference. So, Ruby Bridges, she was really courageous going to school and helping to desegregate white public schools. Martin Luther King Jr. would lead protests and marches and would stand up for Black people all over the country. And remember that he demanded not only equal rights, but also decent housing, fair wages, and so these are all things that are important in order for Black people to be completely equal to white people. Malcolm X was an important leader in the 1960s. He also, like Martin Luther King Jr., led marches and protests and would speak to people about Black people and their power. And he inspired Black people in their communities to stand up for themselves. And Rosa Parks, she stood up for herself by refusing to give up her seat because she knew that that was unfair. So these are just some of the Black leaders that I wanted to highlight, but there's definitely so many more important African American people that have made a big difference in our nation's history. And let's talk about making a difference today. So people are protesting all over the country, just like Martin Luther King Jr. did and others did in the 1960s. So I have some pictures down here. They just happen to be young people because I thought that would be really cool to show you. Young people at protests holding up signs that say Black Lives Matter and that say white America do something. So the picture on the right is telling us that we can't do nothing because that's wrong, right? We have to try to make a change. And that's not to say that, the best way is to go to a protest. Maybe your parents say, "We can't do that right now." But I wanted to let you know that there's a lot of people protesting right now all over the country. And white people can become allies. Ally is another word for friend. So white people can become allies or friends to Black people by educating themselves and sticking up for Black people. So it's, not only important that you continue to educate yourself in school, but even us as adults have to educate ourselves and read books and watch movies that tell us the truth about what's going on. And I really like to do that by reading books written by Black authors. And that helps me learn about our nation's history and about what I can be doing to support Black people. And before we finish our video, I wanted to read this quote by Martin Luther King Jr. that says, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere," which means that anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world that someone is not being treated fairly, all of us suffer. Every single person in the world suffers because there isn't justice all over the world, and we can't stop fighting, and um, we can't stop trying until everyone has equal rights and everyone is treated fairly. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I know there is a lot going on, and maybe you need to pause, or maybe you already paused the video or would like to go back to some of the slides before so that you can read some of the things or maybe reread the story. But this is very important for us today. And that's it for our video, but I will see you later. Bye, friends.